I'm sure you guys have heard this before. I got to talk to my business partner. I got to talk to my wife. I don't want to sign a 6-month agreement. I've been burnt by so many agencies before. Can I talk to a referral? Right. I'm sure you guys have gotten these objections within your sales process at your agency. And today I want to walk you guys through how to prevent these from happening altogether. Okay. The most world-class closers that I know in the B2B space are not good at objection handling. They're not. They suck at objection handling. Why? Because they're world class at preventing them altogether. And so for you, if you guys want to close high ticket retainers more often and increase your closing percentages, you have to be amazing at preventing objections from happening altogether. Now, I'm going to walk you guys through in this video using my AC framework exactly how I prevent every and all objection on every single sales call that I take, so that you guys can implement this within your agency yourselves. It's important to note, this is a B2B framework that I've built just for the agency space. And so if you're in B2C, I wouldn't recommend this. It's not going to work as well. Obviously, it's not going to be as relevant, but this will apply to every B2B offer if you're selling in the B2B space. And so I'm going to share my screen here in a second. We'll dive right in. But before I do that, my name is Curtis Anderton. I'm the founder and CEO of Agency Closers, along with my business partner, Eddie Malouf. I've worked with hundreds of agencies when it comes to one-on-one coaching, group coaching, fractional sales management with the larger agencies that we work with, along with placing setters and closers into agencies. And so this is my whole life, is working specifically with the marketing agency space. That's all I do, along with my business partner, Eddie, who's worked with thousands of marketing agencies in the last few years through Agency Founders and a bunch of other projects that we're currently working on. Aside from that, I also close at Bad Marketing. I'm head of sales over there. And so I've been doing high ticket sales with retainers from 3K up to 30K a month for the last 4 years there. And so everything I'm going to be talking about today is very, very relevant in the agency space, in every single niche. And so I think you guys are going to get a ton of value from this. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right into the AC framework and prevent any and all objections from ever happening ever again. All right, so let's jump into this. Now, this is the agency closer framework. If you have not watched the entire training on this framework, I highly suggest that you go and watch that video so that you have a full understanding of this whole process. Today, we're just going to be covering objections. All right, so what is an objection first and foremost? In the B2B space, guys, we're not going to have as much fear-based and emotional-based objections. Yes, they come up. If you're working with smaller entrepreneurs, often that's going to be the case. But majority of the time, we're going to be dealing with like objection-based logical based objections. And so, in order to be able to overcome a lot of these objections, we have to be able to have full context of what's currently going on within the business and around the business so that we can solve those problems, right? An objection is basically just a problem that we are trying to solve. That's it. And the more context that we have, the easier that problem is going to be to solve. And so, when it comes to discovery, your goal is I need to understand this person's business in as deep of a capacity as possible in every way possible so that at the end of this call, I have so much leverage that doesn't matter what they say because I can always create a rebuttal and or work my way around that objection because I have so much context. And so I'll give an example. We'll jump right in. Price-based objections. I never get price-based objections. Why? Is because if you're doing a proper financial discovery in the metric section and the marketing section, then you will know if a prospect doesn't have enough money to work with you. And if they don't, you get off the call because they can't afford your services. And so I don't pitch them, right? So I don't get the price objection. Or I expose so clearly how much money that they're making that they would feel kind of stupid telling me that they can't afford it. If I expose that a prospect is making 100K in net profit a month after paying themselves, and I drop a 20K a month retainer, that is not expensive for them because I know they're keeping 100K a month every single month in net profit after they've paid themselves, right? So I'm not going to get a price objection on a 20K a month retainer. And it goes on and on and on, right? So we have to have as much context as humanly possible around their financial situation. Now, this is where most people go wrong, is they don't go deep enough. And for example, I'll use this example for local marketing companies that are working with, say, a contractor. Okay. So in the marketing section, I'm asking questions like, what have you done in the past for marketing? What's working? How are you getting your clients right now? Maybe it's all referral based. Okay, you're running ads. How much money are you spending on ads? That's going to give us a bit of an idea of what they've done in the past, right? Um, how much is your cost per lead? What's your ROAS? What's your cost per acquisition right now? That's going to be a good idea. Give me a good idea of how much they're paying to get a customer in the door. And then I'm going to get into the metric section. The metric section, I want to understand how much they're charging, how much money they're making, how much profit they're making in great detail. So I start with small questions first, and I do something called question stacking. And so I'll ask questions like, what is your average? How many leads do you get a month? And then I'll go, okay, out of those leads, how many quotes are you getting per month? They say 10. Okay, what's the average quote size that you're putting out on an offer on a contracting company or on a project right now? 5K. Okay. How many quotes are you putting out every single month? Okay, now out of those quotes, how many of those are you actually closing? So now I'm getting an insight of how many leads they're getting, how many quotes they're putting out, and then what's their closing percentage and the average size. So I know how much money they're technically making now. If I know that they're closing 10, right? Then I know the average order or the average deal size. I now know how much revenue they're making per month on average, roughly. But then I need to make sure that I have specifics. And a lot of you guys go wrong where you get those numbers and then you just assume that they're profitable and you don't go deeper than that. So after I have those numbers, I'll go into cool. What's your profit margin per project right now? 40%. Okay, they're doing 40% profit. Got you. Now, just to be clear on the profit margin, a lot of contractors that I work with will tell me their profit before they actually pay themselves. So technically they're making 10K profit, but they're actually spending 10K a month on their lifestyle. So is your profit margin that 40%, is that before or after you pay yourself? Oh, that's after I pay myself. Okay, that's very different, right? I've talked to big education offers, guys making 400K a month, and they have 200K a month in expenses, and the owner is just spending 200K a month on his lifestyle, and they're wondering where the money is. And so that's a very different conversation to be had. So we have to have that clarity. Now, what I like to do to go make sure I'm really, really clear on what's going on is I then finish off with what is your monthly revenue? Say they say 30K is their average monthly revenue. That's not good enough for me. I want to know clearly, how much did you make last month? 38. How or 28. How much did you make the month before that, right? I want to know specific details on exactly how much money they're making, and that will expose that. And so I really encourage you guys, make sure that you get clear numbers on today. Don't take percentages, don't take last year's numbers or the projections for this year. You need to know how much money did you make last month, the month before that, the month before that, how much profit did you make, how much money are you actually taking home? We have to have that clarity, which is going to allow us to overcome basically all pricing objections that come up. And if I know they're making that much money, then I know for sure that they're are able to afford my services. So once again, if I know, if they know that I know clearly how much money they're making, then they can't get away with using price objections with us. And now we have them in a position for us to be able to close them at higher retainers. For example, if I go through the marketing section and I go through the metrics section and I go through the agency section and I find out how much money they're paying their current agency, and maybe this agency is actually charging more than we are, now I'm in a position to be able to up my pricing, right? And now we're in a really good position to be able to not only close them, not get a price objection, but also increase pricing. So it's really important to have that full detail. All right, so that's basically how we're going to cover our price objections, is really understand their business in deep capacity. And I want you guys to not be, a lot of you guys get nervous about asking these questions. That is in your head. You need to get out of your own way. Ask these heavy hitting questions because they're really, really important, and it's going to show authority and trust. It's going to build authority and build trust because you are asking the right questions and the hard hitting questions that most people are too worried about asking. And that's who people want to work with, right? Now, that's covered price objections. What is another objection? I've been burnt in the past. I don't think this is going to work. I don't know if I want to work with a marketing agency, whatever that might be, right? We cover all of those objections in the marketing agency section. And so in this section, I like just to ask a really simple question. So what are you looking for in your next agency partner, whoever you decide to work with? And they're going to tell me, well, I want good communication. I want proactivity. I want performance only. Okay, well, now I know that this is probably going to be an objection at the end of this call, is that they don't want to pay on performance, or they don't want to pay a retainer, but they want to work with performance only. So now I'm ready for that objection, guys, right? Then I want to ask why you've been burnt in the past. What happened at the last agency? And you need to dig deep into this, right? Oh, I lost all this money. and it just didn't work. What do you mean you lost all this money? Right? We have to understand this. Why is this important? If I know that an agency, for example, ran Google ads in the past and those ads did not work, they did not convert, then when I'm trying to sell them Facebook ads and they told me, well, it didn't work last time, I can deal with that objection by saying simply, well, you guys ran Google ads last time. This is different. And so we can't compare Facebook ads to Google ads. It's a completely different channel. And now I've removed that objection altogether, right? Maybe they go, hey, the communication was really bad. And you find out that the agency that they were working with is really small. And you can use that now. Well, hey, just so you know, like the last agency you worked with had like 3 people in it, right? We have a team of 20. So those communication issues will not happen with us because we have more bandwidth and more team members, right? Wouldn't you agree? And they're going to agree with that. Yeah, that makes sense. And so by digging into what went on in the past in great detail with these agencies, we can now position ourselves logically to showcase how those are not going to be a problem with us. Okay. And so this is a really great place to be able to get ammo on how to position ourselves later in the pitch. And so you want to make sure that you cover these sections in a great detail. And so already all price objections are now covered. All agency objections will be covered through this section, knowing exactly what happened in the past, what they want, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for. I also ask questions like, who are you talking to right now? Are you talking to other agencies? And they're going to say yes. But cool. What agencies are you talking to? Why do you like, is there any agency that you're interested in? Why haven't you chosen one yet? What's missing? Like, I like to ask those questions because now at the end of the call, I'm expecting them to go, oh, well, we have 3 more meetings with other agencies later this week. But if you know that those agencies don't offer what you offer, you can point that out. Well, hey, totally get that you want to talk to these other agencies, but just so you know, the agencies that you mentioned actually don't do X, Y, and Z service. And so I know this is really important to you, and I don't want to waste any of your time, but they're not going to be able to help you with that. And so, does this work for you? Right. And now we've overcome their objection around agencies. Now, obviously, it's not that simple, but that's just a good example of what's possible if we know what's currently going on in their business. You'll never get pushback on this section if you do it the right way with the right curiosity and you have a lot of trust built up from these questions. If they've already told us exactly how much money they're putting in their pockets, they're going to tell us how much they're paying their last agency. Right. And so it's a really important section to be able to dig deeper into. So price, agencies, objections, we've now covered. Okay. This is going to cover a big chunk, like 50% of the objections that you're going to have. So spend a lot of time on these sections. Next, we're going to cover a partner objection. And so similar to the price and metric objections, I'm going to start with easy questions and I'm going to work my way up. So do you have any appointment setters? Do you have any clerical staff? Do you have nurses on staff? Whatever it might be. Do you have any content team on staff, social media managers, anything like that? They're going to say yes, no. They're going to tell me all about it. How many sales team members? And then now that you've been asking about team, it's not weird for you to be like, do you have any business partners? Yes, I have a business partner. Are they an equity partner? No, they're not an equity partner. Oh, well, what do you mean? Right now, we're already starting to overcome the price objection in this, not the price objection, the partner objection in discovery, because we have an understanding of what's currently going on in the business with their business, the structure of their team, right? And so this is a great section to start asking questions like, well, hey, I know your business partner was now unable to attend our call today. Are they aware that you're on this call? Yes, they are. Okay. Have you guys had a chance to talk about like the problem that you're experiencing with marketing? Yeah. Either we're on the same page about that. Cool. And have you guys like agreed upon a budget that you're wanting to spend on marketing? Yeah. Yes, we have. Cool. Now I have all the ammo I need to overcome that objection later on. I then move on. Right. So now we've covered the team objection. Hey, another word version of this is you're a contracting company, right? Maybe you're selling to contractors, and you go, so majority of our clients in the contracting space end up having like their wives or their spouses doing like bookkeeping or accounting for them. Is your wife at all involved in the business? Yeah. She's also involved when it comes to like the money management side of things. Okay, got you. Do they know you're on this call? Have you talked about this before? Have you come up with a budget together already? And so now we've overcome this spouse objection because we're talking about it. We're asking these questions early on and we're getting as much detail as possible. And so It's really important, obviously, that we cover these things here. And this is why the section's here, is to overcome partner objection. So just by digging into these three sections, we've covered price objections, agency objections, and partner objections, and spouse objection. That's the majority of the ones that you're going to be dealing with. Finally, this is a quick one. I just ask you a quick question. So, hey, when you do find an agency that you guys want to work with, like what's the timeline look like? And most people are going to say yesterday. They want to get started yesterday. So at the end of the call, when they tell you to give me a couple weeks to think about it, you can be like, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused, John. Like you told me that this was like a yesterday's problem. So why are we waiting 2 weeks to get started? Right? We're holding them accountable to what they've already told us. But what I find is that most people can't even use that line because you already asked them a timeline. They said yesterday and they don't want to go against something they've already said, right? They don't want to put themselves in that position. And so then they tell you the truth and you have a better chance of closing somebody. So we've covered basically all of the objections in 13 minutes about that you're going to face on a call. Now, it's important that you go as deep as possible into these sections. The more info that we have, the better. A lot of you guys cover them, but you do not go deep enough. You might ask, do you have a business partner? And they say yes, but you're not asking, have you chatted with them about this? Are they aware that you're on the call? Or have you guys already discussed a budget? Right? You're not going that deep. Or maybe in metrics, you're asking what your revenue is, and they tell you last year they made $1 million, but you're not digging into like monthly numbers. And where a lot of people go wrong with these is that they make assumptions, and assumptions kill in the sales process. You have to avoid them at all costs. So, for example, you might have made $1 million last year, but when in reality, when you actually look at the numbers, maybe you made $1 million in the last 6 months of the year and you spent 1.2 million to make it. So you're actually not profitable, right? So you have to understand the full picture. Okay, so we've covered metrics, agency objections. Sorry, we've covered price objection, agency objection, partner objections, timeline objections. Now, the final objection that we are going to deal with is probably the big boss that a lot of you guys deal with is lack of trust, lack of certainty. People come on and go, I don't know if you're going to be able to do what you say you're going to do. Do you have a guarantee? I need to talk to a reference. I need to talk to a referral. All of these types of objections, or I got to think about it. All of the objections come down to uncertainty, trust. They don't trust you. This is the beautiful thing about this, guys. By covering all of your bases, by hitting all of these topics, by covering their entire business in great detail, by asking expert questions that nobody else is asking, you are naturally building certainty. You are building authority. You're building a trust by asking expert questions. If the last agency did not dig deep enough into their last pain with what they went through with their last agency, then they're going to trust you more because you had that conversation, right? You should be getting feedback from your clients on a regular basis of them saying, hey, you asked better questions than everybody else. That is where we need to be in our sales process. And so I really encourage you guys, the deeper that you go in discovery, the more trust you are going to have at the end of your call. And obviously, this goes hand in hand with authority and having a strong frame. And those things I talk about in another training. So I'm not going to go too deep into those things, but the more expert level questions you ask, the more trust you're going to have with your prospects. And that's going to overcome majority of your uncertainty objections. Now, last thing I'm going to mention, your pitch now must reflect all of their problems and how you are going to solve them. Okay, you see how this is all coming together? Remember how you told me that your last agency burned you guys because of X, Y, and Z issue? Well, our agency, what we do is we have X, Y, and Z system that prevents us from ever missing communication. And why we do that is because we've had hundreds of our clients tell us they've been burned in the past. And so now we're able to do that. How we're able to do that is by doing X, Y, and Z to make sure that you never, ever get left unread ever again. Right? You see how we've just solved and showed them how we're going to overcome their pain point, and now we've overcome the objection within our pitch. We're able to now tie all the things that we got in our discovery to basically overcome all their objections in the pitch. The goal is that you go, hey, here's your pain, here's your desired outcome. We're the bridge in the middle. And so your discovery, all it is just ammo for your pitch. And if you do that the right way, you are not going to get objections at the end of your call. So that is the basis to all of this, is just cover each section in great detail and you will naturally overcome a lot of these objections. Okay. So lastly, I just want to kind of reiterate all of this, guys. You People want to work with experts, and experts ask better questions than everybody else and more questions than everybody else. And so you will win a lot of these issues and objections and pain points. You'll win them over. You'll overcome those problems by just asking more and better questions. So make sure you guys go deep on these calls, cover all of your bases, showcase them that you really understand their business better than they do, and you're gonna crush on this. Okay. If you guys want like a specific objection training on like how to overcome them if they come up, I will make another video on that. If you want to comment down below kind of what objections that you guys are dealing with, I'll make more videos on that. But this is going to help you overcome 90% of objections that come your guys' way. So appreciate you guys watching. Have a great one. Go collect some more cash. Last thing I'll just say, guys, if you need any one-on-one support with coaching, with group coaching, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'll give you some context and full information on kind of how we work and operate at agency closers. I'm not a hard closer. I'm not going to come in and just get you on the phone and sell you. I'll just give you all the information that you need. If you are an agency owner and you're looking for a new closer to join in your company to be able to close more deals for you, we offer placement services. Again, shoot me a DM on Instagram. Information is down below and we'll get you all that information that you need. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. You have an amazing day and go collect some cash.